Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. It's Wednesday evening, about 5:30 p.m. And I'm doing another shoe comparison. I've got the Adidas Pro 4s on again, but also the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. I always get those mixed up. Edge Paris. So we're going to be comparing the two shoes. Edge Paris is quite different, I think, to the Sky Paris, though they look very similar. There is a big difference in terms of rocker and geometry and that type of thing. So we'll be reviewing them today and give you a good idea which I think is better for 5 and 10Ks. That's all I want to say for now. I'll see you soon. Bye bye. Right, I have on my feet at the moment the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris and the Adidas Pro 4s, and you can see I'm not lying. There you go. So I'm going to give it a quick run and compare the two. There's a weird noise behind me. It's a guy with a dog. So I'm going to give it a quick run, compare the two, and let you know how they feel against each other, like I did with the Sky and the Adidas shoe yesterday. Do the same with the Edge, particularly thinking about how good they are for 5, 10K, because I know not all of you want to run marathons, right? So, or half marathons. So some of you will want to have knowledge what's the best 5 or 10K shoe, and I'll try and give you that, because I think for me it's between these two shoes at the moment, although I need to take the Alpha Fly on a 5K, Alpha 3, sorry, on a 5K race to just confirm that. And I'll hopefully be doing that this weekend. So anyway, enough about Alpha Fly. This is to do with Adidas and Asics in battle again. And here we go. Right, so straight off the bat, as I like to say, both really nice shoes to run in, right? I've been doing 20 miles today already, or near as damn 20 miles. I'm going to do a bit more later when I take my daughter to her Spanish. We'll be running up to Alexandra Palace again in the Neo's End. So I did my 20 miles in the Neo's End today, and I can tell you now, these shoes are a lot more lively than that shoe, even though that shoe's a good shoe, right? You can feel the plate in the Edge Paris, and I can feel in the Adidas shoe the rods, but also the nice soft foam. Right, we're going to run up a hill, because some of you may have races up hills, so let's go up this hill. So again, like yesterday with the Sky and Adidas Pro 4, very easy going up a hill. And bear in mind, I've run 20 miles, or close to that, and I'm finding this not too bad. It's testament to these shoes, right? Not just my fitness levels, but the shoes. And yeah, really nice actually, both of them. Again, I can't really separate them. Both feel very light. You can't really notice the difference. I mean, maybe a fraction. The Asics shoe feels slightly lighter. There isn't much in it. What is noticeable though is, compared to the Sky, I don't feel the plate quite as much in this Edge Paris. But I do feel this rocker throwing me forward in both shoes actually, and that's one of the similarities with these shoes, the pronounced rocker and the later, and how it's both seem to be around the 60% mark. I could be wrong on the Asics shoe, but it seems like an early rocker, stage rocker on both shoes, which suits me down to the ground, because it means I as soon as my foot lands, I initiate the rock and it rolls me forward on both. So it feels quite similar ride, to be honest, on both shoes. I would say that the Asics shoe feels a little bit nimbler. I think the Edge Paris is even more nimble than the Sky. It's got a smaller landing area on the forefoot, so I would be worried about taking this half marathon distance. I was a bit put off by the Sky, and then this is even narrower and there's less of a sole flare on the forefoot, so you have less stability there. So predominantly I think the Edge will be used for me for 5Ks, possibly 10Ks. I think though with the Adidas Pro 4 it's a little bit more versatile for me anyway, who's not, someone who's not an elite athlete, who needs a decent landing pad, let's say, whose form is going to deteriorate later on in half and full marathons. I think the Adidas shoes just got that added bit of a base to make it a bit more stable and hence more versatile for me. So, but I really like the feel of both shoes. I think they're really nice and pingy, and they propel you forward. There's a really smooth transition when I hit the ground. It rolls me forward. My foot strike is effortless in this shoe, which I think is testament to both shoes. Right, up a hill. Right, I'm going to start heel striking. You know what this means in the Adidas shoe, don't you? So, right. So, I don't need long to tell you this. The Edge, it feels actually quite nice heel striking compared to a lot of racing shoes. It actually feels good, as if it's been designed maybe with heel strikers in mind, because it transitions well from heel to forefoot. So actually quite like heel striking in the Asics shoe. Maybe I'll become a heel striker, guys, in the Edge. But in the Adidas shoe, I'm feeling the same old problems. It sticks, it kind of sucks to the ground, and I'm not getting a smooth transition. I'm fighting the shoe a bit and fighting the foam, the geometry, and so for me, I'm not enjoying that. So I'm going to get back onto my forefoot, if you don't mind, because I've done enough for you heel strikers. Now let's go midfoot. And midfoot, again, massive difference on the Adidas shoe. Feels like it's coming into its own again. And for the Edge, pretty good as well. But not such a huge difference from heel striking, if I'm being honest. Right. And in a minute, we're going to put the afterburners on. And let's test these out for proper pace. So I'll count you in once you go around this bend. So I don't fancy running in the dark down this little hill fast. So let's count you in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm going to make the tree 1. Let's go. So I'm up on my forefoot now, and I'm really piling it on. Quick look at the watch, and it's not updated yet, of course. Let's get going. Oh, this is really nice, both shoes. Oops, sorry. Really nice. If anything, the Edge has a little edge here at this speed. It's probably slightly quicker than my 5k pace that I'm going at. Oh, really nice. Going up a slight incline now. Both shoes doing well. The edge feels like a bullet, it really does. Not to say the Adidas shoe doesn't feel fast, but the edge is designed for speed. The name itself's the giveaway, right? Wow, that's incredible. Listen guys, I've run 20 miles almost, and that, in these shoes, that felt easy. And what can I say? Absolutely amazing. So here's my thoughts. Let's round it up. Quick jog home before I take my daughter to Spanish and finishing off. And I have to finish off my long run, which is going to reach new heights today. If I do the Ali Pali run, I think we're going to be up around sort of 37k, 38k, something like that for the day in 2 separate runs. But anyway, let's talk about shoes. So I think stability wise, I felt like a little bit more stable in the Adidas shoe. In terms of midsole, Adidas is softer and it's more compliant, and it decompresses and decompresses really nicely. With the edge it's a bit firmer, but actually because of the rocker I don't feel that firmness too much because my foot moves very quickly through my foot strike. So that feels great. In terms of grip, both pretty good. Say the Adidas shoe is probably slightly better, but it's not that slippy now, so it's hard to tell. Going up the hill, the edge has the edge, but marginal, and it just feels a tiny bit lighter and more nimble. But the Adidas shoe feels more robust, like something you can really pound and really hammer, whereas the edge has more of a pitter patter, quick cadence kind of flow to it. And that is that. Hope that was useful. I'll do a debrief at home. See you later. Bye. Hi, this is Ed from Runnable, and this is my review, my head-to-head review of the Adidas Adios Pro 4 and the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris, not to be confused by its brother, the Sky Paris, which I believe is quite a different shoe to this one. And that's why I think this comparison will be very interesting. So in this review, I'm going to give you a few stats around the shoes. Then I'm going to launch into what it felt like to run in these shoes, and then we're going to go through some key areas where we compare the two shoes and rate the two shoes against each other. I'm going to primarily look at 5k and 10k for the analysis of these shoes. I know some of you might use them for marathons. I feel like the Edge in particular is a really good, potentially good shoe for short distances. So we'll talk more about that. We will mention marathons, but it'll be mainly this review around using them for 5, 10k. Okay, so let's go through a few stats of the shoes. So the Adidas Pro 4, this is a size 9. I went true to size. Some people have gone up half the size, mainly because of this reinforced toe box that if you are right up against it can cause some serious rubbing on your toes. For me it was okay, but I understand why people might want to go up half a size in this shoe. So in my UK size 9, this weighed in at 204 grams, sorry, not ounces. So very light shoe, and it has a stack out 39 millimeters in the heel, 33 in the forefoot, giving a nice 6 millimeter drop. And all in all, very light, nimble, super racing shoe. What can I say? Some stats around the edge. So similar sort of stack height. We've got 40, sorry, in the heel. We've got 34 in the forefoot, so slightly more foam in the forefoot, giving again a 6 millimeter drop. You've got a lower weight though. You've got a weight of 194 grams actually. So it's about 10 grams lighter, this shoe. But to be honest with you, they don't feel that much different on foot. If you watch some of the run footage when running with the two together, you'll get a sense of that kind of thing. But for me, both shoes are very light, and I wouldn't basically be picking a shoe based on its weight in terms of these two shoes because they're so similar. The Adidas shoe uses the new version of Adidas Pro, which is a TPE foam. It's very nice, soft and bouncy and responsive, and it's got this light traction new rubber with a little bit of continental rubber exposed here, as you can see. In terms of the Asics Edge shoe, you've got the FF Turbo Plus, I think Piba based foam. You've got a plate, which is quite low hanging, as you can see by the line here, compared to the rods that you've got in the Adidas shoe. And you've got limited rubber coverage on the outsole. It's quite good in terms of grip, but there is limited cover. As you can see, this area for me is already starting to get worn away with some of the races that I've done in this shoe. So they're the stats. Now let's go through some of the categories in this shoe and compare them against each other. So if we start with uppers, we've got a very light, translucent, see-through mesh upper on the Adidas shoe. It's really nice feeling on your foot. As I said, there is this reinforced guard here, which is a little bit harsh on your toes. So if you get pressed up against that, that can cause some irritation. But by and large, I found the upper to be very comfortable. Got good lockdown. You can see it's got a pillow here. Doesn't quite go up high enough, so it'd be better, Adidas, if you brought this puller up a bit so you could cinch the laces on top of it. But by and large, I didn't get any real lace bite on the top of my feet. It felt fine. Laces aren't the best, a bit stringy, and compared to the Asics shoe, actually, these are pretty poor effort from Adidas. In terms of lockdown, great lockdown, a limited padding around the heel collar, as you can see, and very loose heel counter. So, but all in all, great upper. Again, if it wasn't for this guard here, I think I would rate this a 5, but I think I'd give it a 4.5. And with the edge, you've got, again, this mesh upper, very, very perforated. So you can see right through it. I'll put my fingers there. You can see my fingers moving around there. It's a really breathable upper, expands to your foot in the same way the Adidas shoe does as well. It's slightly narrower, so if we show them both together, you can get a feel how this is narrower, right? And this is even narrower than the Sky and the forefoot area. So if you've got a wide foot, that might give you some problems. I've got a wideish foot, and I'm right on the cusp of this being too narrow. But because this upper expands to my foot shape, I get away with it. Talking about the rest of the upper, the tongue is very loose and flimsy. You can cinch the laces down. You've got these lovely, you can see they're perforated laces that once you cinch and get them in place, they stay locked. More padding around the collar, heel collar, as you can see, and also on the heel itself. And you've got a little bit more of a rigid heel counter, but still, it's still fairly loose. You can still push it in like this. Again, great upper. I'd rate it pretty much the same as the Adidas shoe, 4.5. And I think I slightly prefer the Adidas upper if I had to pick one, but because of that reinforced area there, I'm going to mark them the same. Outsole here, it's where the Adidas shoe has the advantage. This light traction rubber that they've got here is very grippy. You've got a lot of coverage of the sole of the foot with this rubber. By and large, really nice, grippy, and hard wearing as well, which I think is important. You've got this tiny bit of continental rubber. I don't know why they bothered, but as we know, that's good stuff. So outsole, 5 out of 5 for me. I used this on very slippy ground and it performed really well in a half marathon recently. So got no concerns whatsoever about this, and I think it will protect the foam really well. Compared to the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris, you've got a lot less rubber coverage. You can see this huge area here where I guess they've tried to save weight, and they've got exposed the foam, which is wearing away, by the way. So I think this is going to mean that this is less durable. It grips well where you land. So if you land on here, it grips really well. But if you're a midfoot striker and you land on the lateral side, you're going to be landing on this exposed area. You're going to be wearing it away pretty quickly. So I would say the outsole does its job, but it's not very durable. I would say that this means that you should limit this just to races. If you start using this a lot on your long runs or even off-road, you'll damage the foam. What I'd say then is for the future, it'd be nice, I think, if they were less bothered about the weight. It's so light, they could add a few grams and just put some rubber down in the mid area, because that way this will protect the phone a lot better. So 5 out of 5 for the Adidas shoe in terms of rubber and outsole, and I would give this probably 3.5, 4, somewhere around that for the Edge Paris. And now for the midsole, both got fantastic midsoles. I would say the Adidas shoe is slightly more rockered, as you can see there, but actually because this is firmer, this rocker actually, the flow through this rocker is really nice, because of the plate. You do engage the plate. It's lower down. There's more foam between your foot and the plate, but when you hit and you launch yourself forward with this shoe, you do engage that plate. It's quite a nice feeling of compression and decompression. Whereas with the Adidas shoe, it's softer. I feel like I engage the rods slightly less in this shoe, but it's still got this nice steep rocker that's been moved back to 60%. So where I land, I engage it. So although I think it looks more pronounced on the Adidas shoe, I feel like I get more value from the geometry of this shoe and the rocker in this shoe in terms of throwing me forward, but both got amazing geometries this shoe. The foam in the Adidas shoes is softer, lighter feeling to the FF Turbo Plus. This is firmer. Maybe I wouldn't say the word dense. It's got a slight hollow feel to it, if anything, but it gives you that firmer feeling underfoot. So if you like that, if you prefer that to soft foam, you're going to like the feeling of the Edge. I feel like the big difference between the midsole of the two is landing on the heel. Actually, when you land on the heel with this shoe, you've got all sorts of problems here with this deep cutout. And if you're a heavy person, you'll land hard and it'll splay like that and it'll suck the ground. And it really is a kind of an energy killer when you're landing on your heel. And it's very difficult to transition then from the heel through to the forefoot and through. Whereas this shoe, if you land on the heel, the transition's so smooth. It's probably the smoothest transition from heel to forefoot that I've ever run in. It feels lovely. I'm not a heel striker, but when I practice landing on my heel with this shoe, it's fantastic. So what I would say by that is for heel strikers, I think you're going to love this shoe. I think this is potentially be made for you, actually, even though I'm getting a lot of value landing here with the forefoot rocker. I think for heel strikers, you're going to love the way this feels. So midsoles, both I think fantastic, softer, maybe a touch more responsive, but I engage the rods a little bit less, a steeper rocker, but I find this rocker, if anything, more effective. This is firmer, perhaps because of that feels a bit more stable, but because the Adidas shoe is a lot wider, that negates that stability side of things. We'll talk about stability in a minute. So all in all, I think both midsoles are amazing. I'm going to give them 4.5 each. This would potentially get a 5 if it wasn't for the heel issue, and this would get potentially a 5 as well if it wasn't for the fact that this midsole is so narrow. You don't get much sole flare either for stability reasons, whereas the Adidas shoe, you can see you get a little bit more here on the medial size. So those that pronate that way, you're going to get a lot more protection with the Adidas shoe than you will with the Asics shoe. So that's the midsole. So again, close battle there. I would say roughly the same. Let's talk about some other categories. So price, they're exactly the same price. So they're going to score exactly the same for price. Really good price at £220. I think that's pretty much a bargain in modern day racing shoes, considering the quality of shoe you've got here. So yeah, price, I'd say 5 out of 5. But I make that score in relation to super shoes and not the general running shoes. Stability, I think they're both not stable shoes. They're neutral shoes. I think just with the Adidas having this sole flare here, it's a bigger sole flare than you've got with the Asics Edge shoe. You've also got a wider base to land on, as you can see. It's considerably wider along this point. And the fact that both you get good lockdowns. The only thing I would say is this is slightly firmer. So for those that worry about their ankles, in this shoe, you're going to get a little bit of like ankle movement left and right because of how soft the foam is. With this shoe, you'll get less of that, but it is such a narrow base that I think I'm going to say for stability, I'm going to give it slight to Adidas. I'd say this is a 3 and this is a 2.5. This is not a stable shoe. You've got to be in really good form to use this over longer distances. But for 5-10K, I think you can get away with it being so narrow. And yeah, so that's what I'm saying, stability. Speed now, big one. And this is where the Asics shoe kind of takes over, I think. So I think this is a rapid shoe, don't get me wrong. It's light, it's bouncy, it's responsive. Get a nice flow through the rocker. You land here, it's not so good on the heel, as we know. You've got the rods, but I just feel with this shoe, I'm using the rocker more effectively because it's a little bit firmer, and I've got more foam under my foot. It rolls me forward because I'm not sinking so much into the foam, and then I'm engaging the plate, and that's I'm getting that nice compression, decompression, and ping forward. So I'm less going upwards, I'm going forward. With this shoe, I'm still getting the compression, decompression, but I'm sinking a little bit more into the foam, and it takes a bit longer to decompress and push me forward. So that's fine over longer distances where I want the nice soft landing. I want it to be consistent. I want it to be comfortable and cushioned. But for shorter distance, I don't mind the firmness, actually. I quite like it. And I think over 5K, I would give the Edge to the Edge, funnily enough, over the Adidas shoe. I think this is the quickest shoe. I ran a race at Finsbury Park recently in this shoe. I did 17:41 in a very hilly course, and I won the race, right? And I'm pretty certain that this shoe had a big factor in me winning that race because it's great going up the hills, really nice going down the hills, so light, but also this rocker and the firmness of the foam allows me to move and transition very quickly through my foot stride. It also really encourages me to increase my cadence. This shoe really is one for increasing your cadence, and because I'm a bit of a bounder, that's what I actually need. I need something to encourage me to not just bound, but bound quickly, increase that cadence of mine. And this shoe really does that over the 5-10K distance for me. So in terms of pace, I'm going to give it to the Asics shoe 5 out of 5. I think this is my quickest shoe that I own in terms of 5K, possibly 10K, but definitely 5K. So over that distance, I'm going to say this is the quickest shoe, and I'm going to give this 5 out of 5, and this slightly below 4.5 out of 5. But both are very, very rapid shoes. And if you're looking to chase 5K, 10K PBs, you could use either of these shoes. I think with this shoe, the only shoe I can think that comes close for me is the Endorphin Elite, and that's even firmer. So I think that sometimes with these firmer shoes, they really work over 5K. But as soon as you get further into the mileage, that firmness starts counting against you in terms of the impact that you get from it. That's the pace side of it, the speed side of it. So I give it to the Asics shoe, but like I said, there's not a lot between the two in terms of that. I would say that durability is a hard one for me to say at the moment because I haven't run like over 100 miles in either of these shoes. But I would say, based on what we talked about before, with this amount of rubber, the coverage on the forefoot and the heel compared to the Asics shoe, I would say this shoe is probably going to be more durable. I think that's a safe bet, and you'll probably be able to use these for more runs than just races. With this shoe, I think it's going to have a limited lifespan, so just use it for your racing, in particular 5-10Ks. So going in terms of running in the shoes and racing in the shoes, I would say for 5K, I'm going to go with the Asics Edge. For 10K, I'm just going to go with the Edge. For half marathon, though, I would go with the Adidas Pro 4, and for marathon, definitely the Adidas Pro 4. I'm not sure I'd take this on the marathon unless I'm feeling really good and my form and foot strike and everything feels great. Then I might do, but it would be a challenge for me as a non-elite runner to use something with such a narrow platform over a marathon distance. And I think in reality, that's the same for most of us. So because this review was just about 5-10Ks, I'm going to say that the winner today is the Edge Paris, the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. I think over 5K definitely wins. 10K, it's a close call, but I think it has the edge.